Oh, it should be Peel Yourself Off the Mat Tuesday. Good morning, everybody. We missed you Monday, so we may as well make it a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Day. Every show has to have a name. Every day of the week has to have a name. I don't know how many more Football Fridays we're going to have, but we do have at least a couple more for the radio stations around town that still feel obligated, compelled to go ahead and say, you know what, it's a Football Friday. Guess what? We're going to be talking football all day long. Unreal.
Yes.
You wouldn't have known that if you just tuned in.
Yeah, after this weekend.
Great. I mean, last night, I'm a little wobbly this morning too, Louis. I don't know. You being a very young family man now with young Luca Panici Lubitz, probably, I don't know. Were you home glued to a television set? You weren't relegated to watching this game on your cell phone.
No, I watched it from the bedroom actually because we put Luca to bed between 8 and 9.
Very
so
nice.
I watched it quietly in the bedroom. This classic game that's literally back and forth. I'm like, yay.
Don't make a sound.
Exactly.
I know that feeling. Kid wakes up, all of a sudden you got 3 hours of trying to figure out how to get him back to sleep.
Exactly.
The chloroform, I mean, is the last resort. All right, well, welcome to the show. Good to have you guys with us here on a Tuesday morning. The Hurricanes go down last night, 27-21. No doubt we'll have many opinions about that and what happened. I did see some saying that Mario Cristobal got out-coached. I don't know that I agree with that. Because if you look at, now there's some, I don't know if there were suspect play calls because Indiana's defense is so highly touted. And
Yeah,
clearly, I mean, they showed it tough as nails defensively, especially against the inside run, which the Canes did pop one for a touchdown. Maybe they loosened them up enough to aid them in their other couple of scores, but essentially they were done in by special teams mistakes.
Yeah.
A missed field goal at the end of the half completely changed the dynamic of the scoreboard. And even if you look at the end game there where they needed a touchdown, you are in a much different situation if you make that field goal, because at that point you would have only been down 3 instead of 6 had they put those points on the board. Now, once again, we always have to preface this with the Phil Mushnick great observation where people are constantly, well, you know what, if they made that field goal, they would have won the game. We don't know what would have happened if they had made that field goal. Could have changed everything completely. Could have changed Signetti's strategy. Could have influenced play calls that Indiana, who took their share of chances also. Going for that 4th and 5 when they had a chance to go up 6 instead of 3, and they put a 10-point margin on the board. Did that not turn out to be significant? And this Mendoza kid, as you were just talking before the show, before we get started here, Lubie, how tough is this kid? And doesn't say a thing, doesn't complain, not whining, not screaming, actually congratulates the Hurricanes on being physical. Pass interference went out the window as a call. There were no calls for pass interference in this game. So I'm assuming that it was just played completely cleanly by both sets of defensive players.
I mean, they were just physical. It was a lot
No
of physical.
holding or anything. I mean, the literally guy's got him by, he's holding him by the shirt like he was shaking him down, saying, "If you don't have my money by Tuesday, you're not going to see Wednesday." And no calls, no flags, no nothing. Which and the commentators are always on this same bandwagon. Although I don't know that I agree with it. I mean, well, even Nick Saban before the game. Well, these officiating people, the officiating crew was from the Big Ten. And they let them play. They keep using this phrase. They let them play. Let them play is one thing. Letting them play illegally completely throughout the ballgame is something else.
Well, you're just playing 1960s. It's just annoying to me because it's like, okay, so it's a championship game. Now we're going to play 1960s football. Because I was thinking 1980s, but it actually wasn't even 1980s. Because
looked like Lester Hayes was out there.
It was like 60s. Yeah, it was like 60s, 70s, where you could do. I mean, Indiana was physical, but what Frederic was doing to the Indiana receivers all night long and they finally threw one in there, and everyone's like, what's different? It's like, nothing's different. He's been doing this all game. Yeah. They finally, when you do it 14 times, they have to call it at least once to pretend like they're there for some reason. Like, I get Indiana's physical. Miami has this aura of being physical, so they had to out-physical them. I still don't understand why that means you have to let them play like it's the 7. I don't get. Like, it's interesting. It shows you
holding of a wide receiver at the moment of truth when he's about to catch the ball should be flagged. Yeah, you would like to see that. I'm glad. I mean, you don't want to see the field littered with flags the whole time and that be overly influential. You mentioned this. I think you're right about that. Mendoza was getting creamed after the fact. head helmet to helmet, a lot of different stuff. All went without any kind of intervention there from the officials in terms of penalties. Hard hitting game. Gaines with a miraculous chance to pull this thing out at the end before the interception thrown by Carson Beck, which was one of the things that you were concerned about. Would you say that had he looped the ball just a little bit higher, he had a chance to?
The guy was open.
A winning touchdown pass.
Well, that's what everyone says. If he just threw it, I mean, first of all, the receiver ran the wrong route, so Beck was never going to throw it there. But that was the idea. First of all, he was facing pressure, and that's what he should have faced a lot more. But these teams do this thing where they sit back and watch him, and the only thing he's good at doing is sitting there and getting all day, which I don't understand. But they actually brought pressure. So this idea, well, if he just threw it deep, that wasn't the route. The route was actually where the ball went. He was facing pressure, so he threw it up, which is what he does. He did it all year until the last month and until the playoffs, where if you hit Beck, he was going to throw it away. And these teams went into this weird shell of being very passive. And you look, that's how the Kings got back in the game was they're rushing 3, they're rushing 4. It's like, okay, you're just going to let Tony didn't do anything for 2.5 quarters. And then the last quarter and a half, like they got him whenever they wanted him. It was like, guys, that's other than, and I'm sure Miami did some different things, but Indiana definitely didn't do any of the things that they could have done to make it a little bit more interesting. But it was a great game. It went down to the end, and yes, UM had a chance to win at the end, which is again, it's rare you can remember a false start ever in a game, but that false start by Indiana literally, like they were showing Carson Beck, he was doing the thing where it's like, okay, just kick the field goal, please. Can we end this game? And then they do the false start, and it's like they haven't had a false start the entire game. These refs have called nothing the entire game. Miami held on every play. They were showing replays where you would see the offensive lineman grab the defender. You know, the one that they always call because the defender's about to sack Beck, so the offensive
grabs him by the throat and throws him down,
him and fling him, which is a blatant hold, and it's the only reason Beck didn't get sacked in front of the ref, in front of the whole field, and they didn't call it. It was like. But the false start right before, that's the one it's like, okay, guys. Like, it was so weird how they called that game last night. And I didn't bitch about the refs because at least it was physical on both sides. It was just like looking after the game at fans that weren't me going, refs. I was like, okay, at least I wasn't the only one. That was
a weirdly officiated game in the sense that it was barely officiated.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you got a couple of flags. I mean, when you're thinking that with all of this physicality that's going on, you're going to call like a questionable false start. Pretty bizarre. But nonetheless, I mean, the Canes are right in there. And a lot of people, I mean, there was money on the line. Our friend and professor was going to profit by 10 dimes if the Hurricanes ended up winning that game outright. We had mentioned there were references to a former radio contemporary of ours in terms of worked at the same station there. He was there for a little while, Andy Slater. Now on 640, I believe. And supposedly, I mean, he was in a position to collect 50 grand. Now, even at minus 320 on the money line, if I was in a spot to collect 50 grand, I think I'm hedging off maybe 10 to win 3.
He wanted to hedge. It was just the money line was so
you're trying to professor. Yeah, no, it was minus 320.
Yeah.
But he had 500 up at 20 to 1 to win 10,000.
I know. So he was like,
the chase. He could have put up 3,200 to win 1,000. You end up winning 500. Is that right? Is that the correct math? And instead of losing 500, you make 500 on a game, but you compromise your chance of winning the 10 grand, making a big score. So you make 6,800. Might have been worth it. I don't know. Well, it certainly would have been worth it since they ended up losing. But, I mean, imagine on that final drive. It did look like the Canes were going to march it down the field and score.
Yeah, that was the Indian defense had done whatever it wanted all game until the last fourth quarter. And, like, the Canes literally were scoring every time. The Canes have scored 2 drives in a row. That's why it's funny. They kept going for 4th and 5s. I was like, I assumed they'd go for that last one. And, like, it was like, it's 4th and 5. You're up a field goal. Your defense has done nothing in this quarter. The one thing that Indiana had done, which is what Miami had banked on, was missed tackles. Indiana wasn't missing any tackles, and that's why Miami's offense did nothing through 3 quarters. But the fourth quarter, I guess tired, whatever, they were starting to miss tackles. And to me, it was like, if you're Cignetti, it's like, are you sure you're going to stop them? like they scored back to back and with back to back touchdowns, back to back where they marched down the field and got touchdowns. Like, it's funny, he had been gunslinger dude going for it all the time. I'm like, well, I guess it's championship game, so now he's getting conservative. I mean, they got the 6-point lead, and I guess that in the end worked, but I was like, oof. I was like, you've been going for it.
Well,
And
it forced him to have to get a touchdown. Okay, so there's something to be said for that strategically. But they beat you if they get the touchdown at that point. If you go for that 4th and 5 late in the ball game instead of opting for the field goal, the under players are depressed. They're face down in the gutter because the game would have gone under. I don't know if that was on Cignetti's mind, but probably not. And if you go for the 4th and 5, okay, if you miss it, you leave them in a position where they only need a field goal
yes,
to tie the game and send it to overtime. Now you've put yourself in a precarious spot because anything can happen, and we know that once you get to OT. If you make it, the ball game's over. Clearly, you didn't even need the touchdown. You could have gone ahead and just sat on the ball.
yes,
got
you
into
needed a
victory
first
play.
down. You needed the first down. You could have ran the clock out. That was that, and it looked like they were about to do it until the false start, and then it was like,
Good ball game, no entertaining. I ended up at Bo Campers, our good friend Kim
Okay.
Bo Camper. He wasn't on the scene there, but man, I couldn't believe it. This was nice. It was reminiscent of 1997 when we had the World Series run and also the Stanley Cup run by the Florida Panthers. They used to put big movie screens up all of a sudden. Team had only been in town 5 years, the Florida Panthers, and you could go to just about any bar in town. It was packed. You couldn't find a parking space, even if they had a massive parking lot. And we got a little bit of that yesterday. At least I did. Going to Bo Campers, couldn't even find a parking space anywhere near the place. Had to park a block and a half away. This is just off 33rd Street, a little north of Oakland Park Boulevard. But you got to loop around to get there. If you're going on Oakland Park Boulevard, so you kind of have to loop your way in. I don't know. Have you been to the Bo Campers, Lubie? Have you been to the Bo Campers on the Intercoastal in Fort Lauderdale?
Oh, I've heard about it. I heard you guys talked about it and how amazing it was. I never actually got to see it.
I couldn't believe it. It was jammed, Lubie. There wasn't a single space available. Wall-to-wall people. The surprising thing to me, did people from Indiana come to town and not go to the game?
That's what I don't get is there were so many people around town. There's no way they all were at the game. So it's like people came down to just be in the city where it was happening, but not be at like I don't. Again, I'm not that fan. I don't know.
Seems a little weird, doesn't it?
I don't understand that. I guess people do it.
Kind of like the people that go and tailgate and don't go into the ball game, which you weren't allowed to do for this particular ball game. But yeah, it seemed odd to me that every time Indiana did something good, you would think the place would have been silent, and it was not quite 50-50, but a very strong representation. Now, there can't be a lot of Indiana fans, Louie. Do you ever run into somebody that I know when they were great at basketball, they had their share of fans, even though Bobby Knight would be enough to alienate a lot of people with his persona. Many people embrace that, as we've seen now by recent election results, where the more onerous you are and the more evil you appear to be, that the happier people are to support you. Although this latest run of stuff that's going on, Libby, and your man was at the game last night. Did he get food? I didn't catch that.
No, I didn't.
Very favorable. The Hurricanes.
Like wherever he goes, it's literally millions of dollars, and is a pain in the ass for anyone involved. Like it's so annoying that he
You
doesn't.
think he's wasting taxpayer money by going?
Yeah, if you notice, presidents don't go to these things because you have to bring cavalcade people, and it makes parking, which is already insane, and driving, which is already insane, and it costs a ton of money to the taxpayer. It's just annoying. He doesn't care about anything but himself. It's like, dude, with
any opportunity, yes,
all the crap going on in the world, you're at this game. Like, what are you doing?
Did you see where Tiger Woods actually gave him a green jacket?
That's not how things.
And he's now officially having. They have him officially as having won one of the Masters. He's in the record books now in Augusta National as having won the tournament. That's next, I guess. That's coming up. But we don't want to get into that because so many things happened that this became a minor story, Lubie. So congratulations, Indiana. Curt Cignetti. I was talking to him. I ended up at a table a friend of mine had where there were a bunch of guys that were heavily involved in sports in a lot of different capacities, one of which was a personnel guy for the LA Clippers. Was sitting next to me, and this guy was watching. I'd never seen this. He's on his computer. It kind of reminded me of that time that the when I was in Atlantic City, and the guys they had like stacks of papers that they were going over, and they were doing. No, it wasn't even WNBA. It was NBA Summer League. They were handing. I thought, my God, because I thought, sure, those guys. I remember thinking that these guys are really into baseball betting. That was about the only thing on the board. So why don't I see if they like anything? I mean, just I want to put together a parlay just so I could sit in the sports book there and watch a couple of games because already having tapped out on machines and whatever else I was betting and being stuck a couple of hundred from being at the races, I'm thinking maybe I can bail out with a nice, easy $50 3-team parlay. You get back what on that 6-1, something like that. So would have been. In that area, depending on the odds. I mean, if you're betting heavy chalk, if you're betting the Dodgers against the lowest dregs of the league, you're probably not getting a very good price, a square price. But yeah, usually it's about 6-1. So your 50 gets you back 300. You're back to maybe even for the day, and you're feeling pretty good about yourself because you don't have to hit the ATM machine. So I'm thinking, all right, I might be able to pick one game, maybe two. Although I've never had any luck betting for or against the Marlins in these situations. And I don't bet a ton of sports, even though it seems like we present ourselves as if we're degenerates all the way through and through. But when I am in these circumstances, I like to have a little wager, and it's kind of nice to see it transpire over time. My friend last night, who never bets, took Indiana laying 7.5, which he lost that, but he took the over, which I think was it 47? Something like that. It might have been 45. It might have been a little bit lower. But he ended up splitting, so he was happy just to lose the juice on the one part of the bet. But when I'm sitting there, and it would have been made the game entertaining in from a vicarious standpoint. I did end up with the points and the University of Miami in that game in a small bookmaking venture that I'm involved in. Not that I'm making book, but if you're just personally wagering one-on-one with a guy, are you? Does that constitute being an illegal bookmaker? I'm worried now that I said that the ICE people will show up at my door.
I don't think that's
Capture this heinous criminal, DeForest,
I think
who had a small taste on the Hurricanes with 8.5. 8.5, a very generous allotment, I thought, for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, that was the one thing. Look, I thought Indiana should win. I thought Indiana would win.
It's pretty much what happened. Yeah,
see them. Yeah, I could see them winning by double digits, but the spread was a lot for being at home. And yes, it was very much an Indiana crowd, which is crazy to think, but it still was home. You were going to get a decent crowd, and UM play very physical. They're the kind of team that does what they did last night, where they hang around, like whether penalties, whatever it is, they do enough to hang around. And so to think they lose by
what about those 3 runs up the middle, though, when the pump out got blocked, that series of downs? If I was going to question, was he just being conservative? Because it backfired. It blew up in his face like an exploding cigar. But that series of plays by the Hurricanes, I don't know if you remember it specifically because a lot of it tends to blend together by the next day, especially after many cocktails. But he runs the ball up the middle twice. They were stuffing that run up the middle in Indiana all night long. I mean, just stuffing it. So I thought, wow, I mean, do you go conservative there, Mario? Well, what are you doing? Because that simple dive up the middle just wasn't working all night long.
No.
So he runs 2 of those and then throws a pass incomplete, and then has this guy who that's a trend we've seen with some punters where they move off to the right like they're in Australian rules football.
Yep.
Did Cignetti not have that sniffed out? I mean, the guy moves off to the right and runs right into the guy that's defending.
They had after that 8 block punts the last 2 years. Like before the game, they talked about them having 7 block punts going into that game. So that's
the ball sitting there like I mean, just like a ticking time bomb for the Hurricanes' chances of winning the national championship. And there's one Hurricane player that's in the vicinity, but 2 guys, and you're thinking, unless you get a Rick Weaver where that ball slips out of there like a wet watermelon seed, that's a touchdown, and that's probably going to be the backbreaker that decides the ball game, which I thought essentially that it was. Although you still had plenty of more activity going on, but the Hurricanes being in that 10-point hole at that point, they were going to be in some jeopardy anyway, because even if the guy gets the kickoff, where's it going to be? It's going to go out at best to Indiana's 40. Maybe they pick up the ball there. That happened previously, I think, to that possession also, where they had to kick the ball from deep in their own end zone. But very entertaining. But and think about this, Lubie. This became a minor story. There was a lot of activity. I was doing the Barry the Bookie show yesterday. I know we were off, and I got together with my buddy Mike. We did the Barry the Bookie show on nofilter.net. It's carried on a bunch of other things. And right at the end of the show, it strikes me, hey, should I throw out the idea that there's a possibility, and it seemed like a very remote one, that Sean McDermott would get fired by the Bills for losing a chance to go to the AFC title game on a call that I would say, more than half the people found to be
Oh, the
a flat out robbery.
interception,
Yeah,
incompletion, catch, with Cooks.
unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy, look, I understand that if you're thinking he will never win us a championship, would you think that of Sean McDermott? I haven't been overwhelmed by McDermott, and there have been many times I'm looking at some of his strategic moves and thinking, and I suppose you could say this about any coach, because let's face it, when are you most critical about a move? When it doesn't work. If it works, everybody's, oh yeah, you see that? What balls this guy goes for a 4th and 9 from his own 12-yard line in the first quarter of a game. That'll work sometimes, but when it doesn't, you really look like a bozo. Not that you should do everything by the book. This isn't Dragnet. You should definitely mix it up a little bit, and the element of surprise is always great. Jimmy Johnson was good at that. He was a little bit of that. It was alluded to the riverboat gambler aspect of what he did. He would fake a punt early in a ball game when you weren't expecting it. Element of surprise. Sean Payton, when he had that famous onside kick to start the second half, when he got his Super Bowl title there with the Saints. That was a classic move where you thought to yourself, my God, I mean, talk about taking advantage of a team that's just not anticipating this. They just came out of the locker room. They probably had a couple of hot dogs. Maybe they're stiffening up a little bit. Hard to get loose again. And you just pull a surprise on them. And that's when the onside kick was a little bit more of a likelihood that you were going to recover, or had a little more of a likelihood you would recover, because the rules were different, right? You didn't have to say, we're going to onside kick the ball now to start the second half, even though, what was it? Was New Orleans ahead at the time? I don't remember the exact circumstances of that one. But you like it when a coach takes the occasional chance.
It was like out of half. It were like New Orleans was coming like out of half, and out of nowhere they did a freaking onside. And I was like, what?
Right. Yeah.
When they got it, it changed the game.
Changed the entire dynamic of the game. So those moves are good sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Could you really be, excuse me, overly critical of Cristobal in that game? I'm not sure that that's fair. Well, what do you think, Lubie? Signetti?
No, I don't. I mean,
outcoached the guy. I mean, the theory was, and all of a sudden, the Hurricanes, who came in as the 10th seed, and it was questionable whether they'd even be involved in this thing. All of a sudden, everybody is saying, "Oh, well, they had much better players than Indiana." Indiana had guys that were grown men out there. They have guys that have been in school since Plutarski was a freshman. Unbelievable. And would that not make a difference if you had, when you were 18, Lubie, and you went out to the park to play ball, and there were a bunch of guys that were college kids. Let's say you were 17, or you were like in high school still, and you went against a bunch of guys that were in college for a couple of years. Weren't you always at a disadvantage as the high school player?
Yes.
I mean, you would go in there, and they were older, they were bigger, they were smarter, they were faster, and you would get creamed. And that's the way it went. So there was a little bit of that going on. I don't know. Did Miami really have superior players, in your opinion, to what Indiana had? Indiana had this Mendoza guy who wasn't razor sharp in this game. And I mean, how many of those, backside catches or whatever, what do they call them again? The wrong shoulder, whatever.
Backside fade, back shoulder fade is what they call it.
Whatever. Which is a bogus play for the most part. Usually it's just a bad pass that the guy makes a great catch on. I love that now. It's like it's, I understand the idea of just putting the ball where only your guy can get a hand on it. That makes some sense, but those were pretty sensational, those drive-sustaining catches that Indiana got on what looked like errant passes from Mendoza. So he wasn't razor sharp. We've seen this guy super accurate. I don't know that he had that going in this contest. The Hurricanes did a pretty good job of stymieing him for the most part. But man, what if you had to look at clutch performance? Who was it? Was it Mendoza or was it your man Carson Beck, who ends up throwing a pick? Whether it was a wrongly run pattern or not, still unfortunate. The safety was coming over. Would he have made a play on the ball if?
That's what I thought. Like the fans show replay of two defenders running with a receiver. Like what could have been? I'm like an incomplete pass. I'm like you see the two defenders running with the receiver. Indiana's secondary was fantastic all night long. Like literally, it's the only reason why they weren't pass rushing and sending blitzes was because their secondary was so good. But eventually, there's only so much you can do as a secondary if you're not getting pressure on the quarterback. But they were running with him, so I don't understand what Canes fans saw because I did not see that. I thought it was going to get stopped regardless. They didn't have a shot all night going downfield. Like the only stuff they did was what we saw playoffs. Was missed tackles, was like a simple play that should have gone for 5-8 yards, and Indiana guys just blow the tackle. Like, look, I don't know what to do with Malachi Tony because he's a little dude and he's really fun. But to me, like, he goes entire halves without doing anything. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what he is, but he's hard to tackle for a little guy. He breaks a lot of goddamn tackles because I said it all playoffs. I'm like, yeah, but they won't do it versus Indiana because that's the one thing is Indiana doesn't miss tackles. And they didn't for a half. Indiana had him down every time he touched the ball. And then I guess magically he becomes 6'3", 230 because
that's part of the game though too. I mean,
could not tackle him in the second half. Like they couldn't put him down on the ground. And look, that's been a lot of UM's game, and it worked, and it worked even against Indiana. So I mean, talent was, I don't know. I think Indiana had the better team overall, talent or not, but they do have a lot of older guys, and I thought Miami has older guys too. So, but that's supposedly the narrative is that Indiana had all the old people, and Miami was playing a bunch of freshmen, even though their quarterback's 32 and hasn't been in college for 3 years. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a lot closer talent-wise than what the recruiting rankings would give you, and I think Indiana won as they should have. I was impressed that Miami could hang around. Every time it felt like, okay, Indiana's going to put them away. Miami hung around. And I was like, okay, look, they've done this all year, done it all playoffs. Good for them.
Does Mendoza have a little Tim Tebow in him? In terms of, he's more likable than Tebow was for me. Although a lot of people, they just love Tim Tebow because he was the essence of purity and goodness. Although, for goodness sakes, I could not. I don't know how to delicately put this for kids that are listening. I could not have gone through 4 years at the University of Florida, just seeing the talent that's on that campus as the quarterback and Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. I mean, imagine by the time you got to your senior year and not have engaged in some form of sexual activity, Lubie. What do you think?
Oh, the Tebow thing's weird.
How is that possible? I mean, that is stranger to me than the Monte Te'o phony girlfriend. Because everybody has, something in their imagination. No, Libby, I mean, you never had some dream girl in your imagination. Of course you did. So it's one thing for how on earth that could possibly happen, where you could go 4. Was he there 4 years, Tim Tebow, and never engaged in any kind of sexual? Never did the deed, so to speak. He didn't get laid. Is that what I'm trying to say? That's what I'm struggling for. All right, so the Canes lose. Where does that leave us? And then we'll move on to this next question, which I think is an interesting one. You have quantified this by saying that every team that had an opening, which is now even larger, although Robert Saleh got a job with Tennessee Titans. So he leaves the Jets organization. There's the ex-Jet factor, which could mean that he ends up turning the Titans around. I don't know. What was it? The Jets? Was it Saleh, or a little bit of a combination of both when he was there that had them floundering at the bottom of the league?
That's the thing. People are saying it's not just the Jets, Saleh too. Like people like me who didn't even want to consider Saleh.
He didn't overwhelm me with what he was doing.
It's just the offensive thing. It's just the great defensive guy struggling to have a good offense, right? So we've just seen it so many times that I blame the defensive guy. I'm sure the Jets have a lot to do with it. The Jets can't get anything right, so obviously the Jets are in there. But there's people who are like, well, look at what Saleh did with that defense. They had 7 guys hurt, and they were still performing at a high level. He's a great defensive coach. Yeah, but no one's faulting for being a great defensive coach.
Yeah.
Can he be a head coach who then hires a great offensive coach and leaves him alone? Because what we saw in New York, that was not the case. He was supposedly involved in, like you saw him, he would always say stuff after games that was weird, and you don't want to attribute that to a guy who's not involved. Like he was clearly involved in things. So it's like, okay, like, yes, he's great defensive mind, but he doesn't know how to handle the offense. So like that's my problem with Saleh. Like I don't know what to do with him. Maybe Hafley will be better. Like maybe we haven't seen him in the pros as a head coach, so maybe he'll know to get a great offensive mind and get out of the way. I don't know. That's the problem with these defensive guys. It tends to happen a lot where they have a strong defense and the offense just suffers and they never figure it out.
Why do we feel like the Dolphins have done it again? Where, I mean, of all the opportunities that were out there, I mean, there are a zillion coaches floating around. They did make this decision, I guess, that they had made up their minds before McDermott got fired. I don't know that Sean McDermott would have been a turnaround type of coach here in South Florida, because he would have had less talent with the Dolphins and a team that's been sort of shattered versus a team that decided to get rid of him because he couldn't get him to the promised land, couldn't get him to Lombardi. After 9 years of going 98-50, Lubie, 98-50. If you took all of the Jet coaches combined since like 2007, I think you have to go back that far for them to have won 98 games. I believe I read that this morning in my New York Post analysis of McDermott's dismissal. And even with the Giants, you have to go back like an enormous number of years to have accumulated 98 victories. Now we did this with supposedly a guy that everybody calls the best quarterback or among them in the NFL. I love Josh Allen and his attitude. Yet if you looked at this last ball game against the Denver Broncos, who lost the game for the Buffalo Bills? People look at the officials. Josh Allen had a horrible game at the moment of truth once again, where, I mean, how many times has this act been played out where the Buffalo Bills favored go into a playoff game of significance, chance to maybe get back into a Super Bowl after the 4 straight losses of centuries ago, and Josh Allen implodes. What did he have? He had like 4 or 5 fumbles, a couple of
turnovers. He had 2 fumbles and 2 interceptions.
Okay, and they were sloppy too. I mean, they were him running and paying no attention to any kind of. Can I use one of these phrases here that you will hear some color analysts use? Ball protection. Yeah, wrap it up there. I mean, he's carrying it around there like it's a baked potato, and you're thinking only harm can come. I'm amazed by this, Lubie, in watching NFL football and even to a lesser extent the college game, but especially in the NFL. Every tackler is trying to punch the ball out.
Yeah, well, and it's fine. The problem is they miss a lot of tackles doing that. Like,
but how do these guys hang on to the ball when they do make contact?
It's not easy.
Okay, so if you're going to run around with the ball just sort of unbalanced in one hand, there's a pretty good chance somebody is going to create a fumble, and that's going to be so costly that you'll never be able to overcome it, even though the game ended up in overtime. Think about that. 4 turnovers with Josh Allen. They still are in overtime with the Denver Broncos, and they end up losing, and it cost this guy his job, McDermott. Although, look, we don't need to feel any overwhelming empathy for a coach that gets fired, because, as we've seen, it's really good if you're a college coach. Now your contract's guaranteed in the pros too. So when McDaniel got all that money, okay, and is he really going to land one of these head coaching jobs, Lubie? Because it brings us to this Jeff Hafley hiring by the Miami Dolphins. We'll get into that. We're going to come back in a moment. Didn't realize we'd just been babbling here for like almost 40 minutes, but a lot of fun last night. I hope everybody was entertained by the ball game at the least. Amazed to me, the action that was going on. Kim Bokamper must have a bag full of cash after last night. If he's getting the proceeds from this, Lubie, you could not have been busier. What was it like that everywhere across town? I'm thinking yes, that the places were packed, and so that was a nice thing to see. A little community spirit going on, but amazed the percentage of Indiana fans that were located in a Fort Lauderdale sports bar Really, really was surprising to me, the people that were rooting for Indiana. Where did they come from, Booby? Do you ever run into anybody that says they're from Indiana here in your travels around town? You meet a lot of people, too, from being in this racket. You ever meet anybody from Indiana? I can't remember the last time I came across somebody who said, "You know where I'm from? Indiana." So what the hell was going on last night?
Never met someone from Indiana.
Was it all fueled by gambling, this interest in Indiana, that the people said, "You know what, I'll go ahead and lay the 7.5, 8.5 points." Incredible. All right, we're coming back with more. We'll talk about this whole Jeff Hafley thing. I have to admit, my first reaction was, what? Who? I wasn't familiar with him. Defensive coordinator, Green Bay Packers. What did we last see from the Green Bay Packers defense? So we'll come back and talk about that in a moment. How about a little tease there, Lubie?
There you go.
What did we last see from the Green Bay Packers defense? It's 8:39.
Yeah, I'm in the factory. Okay.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Joe Bees. The bees collect the pollen, bring it to Joe, he packages it, and he gets it to you. It's simple, 100% natural, and it's good for you.
There's only one place to get Joe Bees, and that's from me. Joe B.
If you want to look and feel good, call 877-300-5632.
You can't fake caring. Women can sense this immediately.
You don't really care. You didn't really want to do any of this.
We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. We know this so far, and this is usually interesting to follow. It's even more massive this year than in most years, where sometimes you have 4 or 5 coaching changes. Guys get dumped on Black Monday. We were saying that Black Monday wasn't black enough. It certainly got darker, if you will, since that Monday transpired in the ensuing weeks. Now you have John Harbaugh goes to the New York Giants. Everybody's all excited about that. They figure that's it. The Giants are going to be great from this point on. Foregone conclusion, Lubie. He's going to be there 5 years. He's going to make $100 million, and the Giants will win the Super Bowl, and people will forget about that performance by Phil Simms. You have McDermott fired by the Buffalo Bills, so you would think a very attractive job. Stefanski got a job with the Falcons. So he's gone. He was fired by Cleveland, and he's off the market. The Titans hire Robert Saleh, who was highly coveted all of a sudden, even though we just watched his defense get decimated by the Seattle Seahawks, who didn't even have to throw the ball. I suppose, too, some of that was part of the Seattle defense, which has been outstanding, but 41-6 is not a pretty when you look at your last film, if that's going to be what you're judged by, that wasn't all that impressive. And that leads us to the Dolphins hiring of Jeff Hafley. We know that he coached, he's been around a long time in terms of coaching ranks. He started out as an assistant coach at Albany, which do they even field the football team anymore? That was in the 2000s. Tied in, of course, they hired this Sullivan cat as a general manager. He was a second-tier guy at Green Bay. But what is going on exactly in Green Bay that makes these people as attractive as they seem to be to the Miami Dolphins? Only the Dolphins would see this, where somehow working underneath the surface is this team that is so talented that they have no responsibility whatsoever for the fact that Matt LaFleur is teetering on the balance of being fired himself. So, what are we missing here, Louis? You watched the worst fourth quarter collapse by a defense in the history of the National Football League in the playoff game against the Bears. Is that on Hafley? He was the defensive coordinator at the time.
Well, that's my thing. Like, fans will do this and go look at one game and go, our guy is the guy.
I'm not trying to do
not the guy. Right. No, look, it's what fans are doing with this, and I did the same thing. I'm like, you see, look what the Rams did. They held them to 17, and look what they did. They let them score 20-something in the fourth. So I agree, and that's why I just like Shula more. He actually doesn't have the experience Hafley has. He has never been a head coach, and Hafley was an okay head coach at Boston College, and then he left. They didn't get rid of him. He chose to leave because the college football world is insane. So I think he's legit, but yeah, their defense was top 12. It wasn't top 5. Like, okay, so you're running after a defense coordinator. It's not like he had one of the best. He had a good defense, not a great defense. Okay, like that's weird.
2 games against the Bears, they had abysmal failures in the fourth quarter. They gave up 25 points in this fourth quarter in the playoff game. Now, granted, look, did he have the right defense called? How his defensive back was 3 feet away from the receiver who made that catch on the incredible, miraculous, they somehow managed to cover the 4-point spread Chicago Bears touchdown pass by Caleb Williams. Look, the guy's running straight backwards for 30 yards. So is he in the right defense? Yes, they had this guy. He was finished. He heaves up an absolute prayer. This was Butch Comives out of the corner there in the end of a Knick game where at that point it was only a 2-point shot, but they're trailing by 1, and here's Butch chucking it up there. You're throwing up what would only be qualified as a prayer. You would have to say, was that one of the all-time prayer passes by Caleb Williams, Lubie? Where, I mean, he just chucks the ball 35 yards in the air, and somehow his guy is wide open. Oh, I don't blame Hafley for that, but why is it there's so much chaos there if these guys were such geniuses? And the other game against the Bears, I guess they played 3 times, right, this year. They're in the same division. Green Bay, wasn't Green Bay leading like 16-0 with 2 minutes to go in a ball game, and they somehow lost? It was insane.
Yes, they were leading late. They were leading big, and then they were leading, and the Bears came back again and scored. Yes, they did whatever they wanted in that fourth quarter.
So, what made the Dolphins? What convinced them that they had to go raid Green Bay to get a head coach that's in, I think, a very difficult spot? This mediocrity continues under the new leadership, and I mean, how much more lost are you going to be? Is it impossible to completely alienate your fan base, Lubie, to the point where I don't know? Is it so impenetrable that you cannot financially hurt an NFL team with massive amounts of indifference? No team is in a position to lose money. Would you say that's a fair statement? And that can, sort of perpetuates teams being able to get away with what the Miami Dolphins have been doing. I don't know. Would you say the Dolphins haven't been trying? No, I don't think
they are trying. Look, that's, again, we talked about this. They are trying. Their owner gets in their way. The owner does not know how to pick execs. Look, and then pick coaches. This time it feels different. Like I like the guy from Green Bay, Sullivan, and Hafley is well respected. Like, it's not Philbin. Like, he was a defensive coordinator. He was calling the plays. He was in charge, and he's been the defensive coordinator at a few places and done a really good job wherever he's been. Boston College, he has records under 500, but he was only there 2 or 3 years, and they went, I think
he was there 2 years.
They were bowl eligible both years, and
Boston College you're talking about. Okay.
Boston College, yeah. Boston College, they were bowl eligible both years, and then they were excited. They liked him. They thought the future was bright, and he, because of college football being what it is, said, I'm done with this. I'm going to the pros. Got a pro defensive coordinator gig that led to a pro NFL gig.
And you were saying that he was overwhelmingly impressive in the interviews, that everybody wanted to talk to the guy and liked him. And the Dolphins, I mean, it could work a lot of different ways. I'm not going to pretend that I have any answer for this. I mean, it's impossible to totally rail against it. Was it a name that you had in mind? I didn't. I don't know about you, Louie. I don't follow this kind of circumstance deeply enough to know every coordinator. I mean, you see certain guys, and you'll see them written about as, oh, well, every team's going to covet this guy as a head coach. Look, it worked out well with Ben Johnson. Didn't work out so well with Aaron Glenn. So you're asking yourself, maybe there are organizations that are just so impossible and so far away from actually figuring out what it takes to make things work. And I hate to say it, I don't know. Are the Dolphins one of those organizations? Look at some of the lame stuff they've done over the years. Joe Philbin, all of this. Adam Gase. Now, Adam Gase, what was a red-hot coordinator, Lubie? Everybody thought this guy was going to be a genius head coach. And was he? I don't know. I mean, seemed to me that he was kind of lost. And I'll never forget that look on his face when he got the Jets head coaching job. And those eyeballs, that was right out of Marty Feldman. Marty Feldman, the comedian, but he had the bulging eyeballs. And you're like, oh, my God, this guy's psychotic. Pretty soon he'll be sending out messages, bizarre, deranged messages on social media sites at 1:30 in the morning while he's leading. Well, we don't want to get into the whole idea. Well, when did Greenland become such a big subject?
I guess there's a lot of oil. It's another place that has that we don't realize has a lot of oil. I mean, that's what it is. He's just trying to make his rich friends happy.
Okay, all right, makes perfect sense. All right, we don't want to delve too deeply into that. So what are we going to say? We have no idea. We just post like some kind of inquiry sign. I mean, clearly you would have to wait and see what this Hafley does. Is it fair to judge him as being a bust or of a pick because of the fact that Chicago put up 25 points on his defense in the fourth quarter and he didn't have a single clue how to put a stop to it? Now, as we said, 7 of those points were pretty bogus, and you couldn't pinpoint that on the defensive coordinator because did he have the whole thing covered? Yeah, got aggressive. Sent Caleb Williams into a move that there's no way you're expecting him to complete any kind of pass on a 4th down and 4. So you can't discredit the defensive coordinator when some lucky play occurs. Look, I mean, what are we going to say? A guy gets a punt blocked. Indiana sniffing that out, though. That was, you say they blocked 8 punts altogether?
Over the last 2 years, it said. Yeah. Over the last 2 years.
All right, so every now and then, though, yeah, I mean, you can say, hey, that was coaching ingenuity on one guy's part. Was it a failure on the other guys? I don't know, but it seemed it didn't move me in any one direction or the other. Libby, how do you feel about this Jeff Hafley thing?
I'm disappointed. He was like 8th on my list. There was a ton of people I had.
He was on your list, though.
Yeah. I mean, he's done a nice job with the Packers. He did a good job with Ohio State before he went to Boston College. He did a solid job with Boston College. Like, NFL people like him a lot. He literally had an interview with every opening, and 4 of the 9 supposedly were going to make him a finalist. So it's not just the Dolphins. So I think he's a good coach. I just Harbaugh would have been 1. I now would have wanted McDermott because he has experience. I want an experienced guy. Every coach the last 20 years has been a first-time guy. It hasn't worked. Do something different. I'm all for doing something different when the thing you've done hasn't worked for 2 decades. I get it. McDermott didn't come out till they were already hiring Hafley. Okay, but you didn't have to hire him. You could have then interviewed McDermott. I like Stefanski a lot and people don't realize, they're like, well, Stefanski wasn't good. Was he not good? Or he was the coach of the Browns? Because he won a playoff game with the Browns more than McDaniel did with a lot less talent, miserly owners, an organization that's been run way worse than the Dolphins. They just been ran poorly for 50 years. So or 40 years since they moved and then started over. Stefanski was a guy that I really liked a lot. They looked at him and supposedly he was going to be a finalist, but the Falcons were smart and nabbed him. The defensive guy is the guy Minter with the Chargers I like a lot more than Hafley, and I like Shula a lot more. I think Chris Shula's done a hell of a job with the Rams defense.
How much consideration do you think they gave to giving Chris Shula a shot?
They interviewed him, which was cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Joe Brady, and Joe Brady with the Bills is the one I really wanted. He's a guy that did a good job with LSU. He's now twice with the Bills, done a good job. With Allen, settling Allen, and they have no offensive talent. And the play calling that he was pulling out of his ass in that game was fantastic. He's playing, if not the best, second best defense in the league. And they found ways to make plays where there shouldn't have been. And it was purely the play calling. Joe Brady is special, and he's a South Florida guy. when they actually interviewed him, I was like, he or Chris Shula would be the two guys that I think would be fun. They're young dudes that people aren't giving a lot of chances yet, but they're two guys I think that are going to be really good coaches.
The Shula story just would have been a classic.
Exactly.
I mean, that would have been the greatest thing that could have possibly happened, in my opinion. Even if the guy couldn't coach, it's just a great story. I love it. I wouldn't care if the Dolphins went 0-17.
But that's my thing. He can coach too. Like the Rams defense, actually, the Packers have just been good on defense for years, and Hafley came in and settled them down. The Rams have been up and down the last few years ever since losing Aaron Donald, and he revamped the defense and is back to playing at a really high level. Again, they held the playoff team to 17 points, like in overtime. Like, to me, he's actually doing a better job. And then on top of that, you have the whole Shula story too, just for icing on the cake.
Was it a dark day in Dolphin history that they gave Jeff Hafley their head coaching job? Or there'll be a lot to speculate on because we have no idea. Like you said, the evidence may be favorable. Was a head coach at Boston.
Hey, look, it's not the Philbin hire. People are like, well, it's like Philbin. No, he was the DC. He did call plays, and they were like borderline top 10 defense. Like, it's not a horrendous hire. Believe me, they've made horrendous hires. This isn't that. It's not Sperano, who was an offensive line coach, who gets a head coaching job like out of nowhere, and no one had ever even interviewed the guy before. Like, Hafley's a young dude who's rose up ranks and had a head coaching job and was being interviewed, and if the Dolphins didn't hire him, someone was going to give him a head coaching job this cycle. So it's not a bad hire. It's just fine, and the Dolphins have done those. This isn't that. It's just he's not who anyone wanted. So we're all like,
Mike Tomlin. Does he surface again as a head coach? Mike Tomlin.
Maybe he's one of those guys that is.
Well, was he just sick of doing it, or was this one?
Supposedly, he's one of those guys that's not eloquent at all, except for he's supposedly really eloquent. Like, I've never really heard an interview with him that.
He's so tight-lipped. He comes off like Randy Shannon in the interviews. Not supposedly this isn't a racist thing about two black guys.
No, Shannon didn't talk. Shannon wasn't talkative at all.
Yeah, we would get these gratuitous interviews with Shannon because the station I was on was carrying the Hurricanes. This was in the Lapa Nation, believe it or not. So we get Randy Shannon on, and it was one of those interviews, Louis, that we've had some, but you sort of dreaded doing because you knew the guy wasn't going to say anything. There was no way to kind of lavish these questions up with a bunch of flowery stuff. Oh, well, you know what? That 31-12 loss, a lot of good. Now you got to go Rinaldi on that, as if he was talking to Tiger Woods after an 87. A lot of good came in that, didn't it? I mean, you established some young guys in this ballgame. Meanwhile, he's playing these guys in desperation in garbage time when the other team absolutely doesn't care. It was tough to make those Randy Shannon interviews have any kind of a vibe to them other than I can't wait for this to end. You ever have that feeling? You're on.
Yes, we've done that. But we've done that again. A guy in the morning, you get a lot of people that are sleepy, and also coaches. For the most part, outside of college basketball coaches.
It's a big deal to get a head coach on from a local team, or it should be.
But they rarely say anything. Like that's why we love Partridge so much, because he was fun. Like, it's
good.
Rare to get a coach be willing to say. Lane Kiffin's turned out to be really fun. We had him twice. He said nothing. Like,
oh no, he really clammed up.
In the morning on a radio show, it's really hard to get a coach to like open up and be fun. Like, it's just. We've had a lot of them. Like, that's why that Final Four is so memorable to us.
Some of those guys are razor sharp in the morning, even if they say nothing and it's all cliches.
They're on it. They just don't say anything. Yeah. They're just, you're not the place that they're going to.
I like that guy McCarthy that was coaching at FIU. Remember that guy?
Yeah, he was fun.
He was good. Whatever happened to him? He might be.
Last. They sucked. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, this is under the heading again of like a New York Jets, so where for whatever reason you're in an impossible situation. So. All right. So that's the news. Jeff Hafley's the coach. A couple of other things happened yesterday. The Panthers actually moved up the start of their game to give people a shot to watch the Hurricane game. Very, very smart on their part, but it didn't work out as they got clobbered 4-1 to the San Jose Sharks at home. And currently with Matt Tkachuk coming back, possibly to play in the Olympics first, Lubie? Would that be kind of weird? I know you were talking about that.
He played yesterday. He played yesterday. And
he did? Okay.
He had 3 passes. Yeah, no, he's back. He's playing. Okay. So if he goes to the Olympics now, like, I won't say anything. Like, he's there. He's established. He's going to play for couple weeks or a week or so.
12th in the East right now. 12th,
That
Lubie.
sucks. No, I mean,
12th
look,
in the
you
East.
miss two of the top. I mean, those two guys are two of the top probably 10 players in the sport as a whole. So, like, to miss both of them, and then they had a bunch of other guys hurt. Like, it's been tough, and they played a lot the last 3 years. So that's why I think they're gonna make the playoffs. But I don't have any expectations for this year.
How's Bobrovsky, the blind man, this year?
He's been okay. I don't think it's him. I mean, it's just
It doesn't seem like just the vibe I'm getting is that he hasn't been as good as he was last year.
probably not.
Yeah. Well, when he really did help carry him into that Stanley Cup, as much as he was being criticized and ostracized, it seemed like he was being unfairly treated because he was actually playing pretty well. I don't think it's been as good this year, maybe because of the depletion of talent. Barkov becomes that much more valuable. I was reading some analysis about how Anton Lundell, who's taken the road of Barkov, he's got better numbers this year than he's had in the past, but that's because he's playing a lot more, but he's no Barkov. So
No. Barkov is all because the thing with Barkov, who's already a great offensive player, he's become a really solid, consistent defensive player, like all around player.
Yeah.
He's like a top 5 all around. Like, again, the guy plays end to end, like, and he's very smart. Like, again, when Barkov's on the ice, the offense is night and day. Like, they are so different as a team. Like, he is their captain. He is their best player. Like, he really is.
Makes a lot of stuff happen. And as a playmaker, seems to be exceptional, especially those slick passes that go through the crease, man. Always interesting to see how this guy creates stuff. Not happening, I guess, and so we'll see if they can resurrect that, make some kind of run. But losers yesterday at home before the Hurricanes. It was a losing day all the way around. Let's hope that's not the case with this Jeff Hafley, now the new head coach of your Miami Dolphins. All right, Lubie, you have a great one. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back with you again tomorrow, 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't know that we could have so much of a blockbuster day as we did yesterday. Just incredible. And it was it was a pleasure, actually, to see this kind of scene. I don't know that I've felt this kind of energy about a ball game in a long time, going to a bar to watch a ball game. You didn't get that at all during the Dolphin season. Even when, did they start the year 1-0? The Miami Dolphins. Did they win the opener last year, Lubie? Do you remember? That's how distant of a memory it is. You used to be able to cite chapter and verse everything that happened with that team. Now
I think they started strong, didn't they? I don't know.
Yeah, what did they do? Didn't they? They lost to New England though, like in week 2, didn't they? And then how strong could they have started? They were like 1-5. All right, we will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. Congratulations to Indiana, Kurt Cignetti. Wow, that guy's look on the sideline is just absolutely classic all throughout the ball game. He doesn't seem to be a bad guy once he opens up and lets go, but he sure is a strange one there. He looks very deranged. He looks like
he looks like a serial killer. I mean, when they went up 10 on the run, because that was a ridiculous play by Mendoza, he did this, and they actually were like, that's the first time we've ever seen him celebrate ever. Like, he said, if they win it all, he'll celebrate a little. It's like, Jesus, that guy's a freaking madman.
How much money do you think Mark Cuban poured into this team?
A lot.
He's had pretty good success as a sports owner.
Mm-hmm.
Got the Dallas Mavericks to be relevant. They were floundering and not even getting also-ran consideration, and won a championship. And he sells his interest, makes a massive amount of cash, and now his latest investment, Indiana University.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that story, a great story. Cignetti, possibly the greatest coaching job over 2 years that anybody's ever done, to transform that team like that, win a national championship. 16-0. Think about that, Lou. We used to play 10 games on the college grid.
Yeah.
16 games, and they're crying about kids getting money. How much money did they make off this thing yesterday? Incredible.
Oh, good.
Whatever they rang at bowl campers, it had to be enormous. That had to be one of their biggest days. If the Dolphins were in the Super Bowl, they wouldn't get that many people. All right, we will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. See you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
No taps for the Canes? No, they should be proud.
They made the change. There was one.
I'm proud of them. It's 9:03.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.